yesterday here at Mobile World Congress, GSMA launched a report on the mobile gender gap. And you were there speaking with stakeholders from across the development sector as well as the mobile industry, talking about the mobile gender gap. I'm guessing that's a big reason why UN Women has an interest in Mobile World Congress. But before we dive into the gender gap, just more broadly, what brings you to Mobile World Congress and why is UN Women interested in engaging with this mobile industry?
Yeah. Well, the mobile sector and the gadgets that comes with it is basic infrastructure of the 21st century that women need in order for them to get jobs, to access information that they need, to reduce the cost of transport, etc., etc. And right now, there is a gap in terms of the number of women who have and own mobile phones. So by being here, it is to continuously sensitize the industry about the importance of making sure that, as the SDG says, leave no one behind. Something has to be done to meet women halfway. It's good to know that there's 80% of women now in the world who have access to mobile phone, not necessarily connectivity. Because owning a gadget and a handset is the first step.
Right.
But in most countries, connectivity is still a problem. I mean, if you think of a country like India, which has so much talent pool that has to do with technology, but even in a country like India, the number of women who are connected are less than 30%. And the main reason in many countries is affordability. The women's levels of education makes it different whether they will connect and use the mobile phone or not. You know, issues such as content also are also a hindrance for most women. But these problems that we have actually solutions. And if we solve them, there is a win-win. The industry will win, the women will win, and the economies will win. So, in particular, just the ownership of handsets in countries where there's large population and a big need, like Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. If manufacturers and the different components of the industry that stands to gain with greater connectivity were to find a joint effort to actually bring down the cost, and governments to bring down the cost, so that you address the step one of just the ownership of a handset and maybe a generic handset to start with, because once women become familiar and users, they probably will graduate on their own. So what you'll be doing by providing affordable, subsidized handset is actually to cultivate future customers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that patience to forfeit profit today so that you can have profit for generations to come.
Right.
I think is something that is actually missing right now.
If a mobile network operator can't see that long-term benefit, that they will ultimately see that long-term benefit, but if they're not necessarily thinking long-term, what is your call to action for the global development community? Ways that leaders like you can come in, part of why you're here, probably.
Well, this is part of what I am here.
Yeah.
We actually need also to intensify research so that we can make projections that give the companies comfort. I mean, I think that once companies are presented with actual information, hopefully it makes them to make the right decision. We actually need diversity also in the leadership of tech companies, because I think for people who really only know privilege and have never experienced being without, the argument of the needs that the women have and those poor communities may not be a compelling argument. We actually need to have more people who understand what it means for those people who do not have and what it would mean if they were to have.